complaints or concerns regarding the valuation of their property for tax purposes. Property owners appearing before the Board of Equalization Review have the right to a fair and equitable hearing. The Board of Equalization Review has been charged with ensuring that the proper legal principles have been applied in evaluation dispute for tax purposes. And here's the format of the hearing. The clerk calls the case and locates the property. The appellant presents his or her case. The assessor's office offers their defense. Both parties will be given the opportunity to conclude their comments. All questions will be directed to me or to the board. The taxpayer will be notified in writing of the board's decision. By statute, the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to demonstrate that the assessment is erroneous. And let's start the proceedings.
Tab number 1, parcel ID number 407660, Big Lots Stores.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Big Lots is not here today, but they asked that we review their information. The information is in your books if you wanted to look over it. Basically, what they're saying is that we used an arbitrary method of valuation and that the assessment substantially exceeds the market value of the property. Their argument is that the depreciation tables that we used in valuing their business personal property didn't take into account any obsolescence.
Any questions for Robert, who is speaking on behalf of Big Lots?
I'm sure you'll explain that y'all did look into it. Okay. No questions.
Did they have a value that they suggested?
Yes, sir. The value that they proposed is $2,227 and, I'm sorry, $227,095. I think it's on the agenda.
It is.
And what they're stating is that it's an overstatement of value by 25%.
And you use the valuation tables the county uses countywide, right?
Yeah, I'll address that when I present. Right now, we're just looking at Big Lots' argument.
Okay, yeah.
In the packet for Big Lots, they did a depreciation schedule overview using KPMG. And KPMG came back with a low and a high on depreciation schedules for key assets.
Would this be like what they call fixtures or
Yes, sir.
equipment, or?
It's all of the above. It's computer equipment, it's machinery, it's vehicles, it's leasehold improvements.
So they say they obsolescent, is that what they're saying? Some of this stuff is.
Across the board, yes, sir.
Doesn't have any value whatsoever according to them, a tax value anyway.
Well, what they're saying is that our depreciation tables don't take into obsolescence. That it's I don't want to say flat line because it's not really that, but that we don't take any additional depreciation past what the North Carolina Department of Revenue has suggested.
Okay.
So they want additional depreciation put onto their assets because of obsolescence.
Yeah, that doesn't really, I mean, the tables theoretically include that, right? Tables you're using. I recommend we stick with the county's value.
Well, let's hear from the county.
Yeah. So as
Thank
Ray,
you, Ray. Yeah.
as Ray did state, the policy of the Union County Tax Administrator's Office in valuing business personal property is using the North Carolina Department of Revenue's depreciation schedule. Department of Revenue revises that schedule every year based on the cost approach and makes adjustments to the depreciation schedule to reflect the market. If you want, I have the depreciation schedule here. What we do is we consistently use this depreciation schedule to value all business personal property assets in Union County. We don't use additional obsolescence because for us that would be honestly way too much work. I mean, we have a lot of accounts. This is a mass appraisal system. The Department of Revenue's depreciation schedule is the one that's being recommended that we use and that all the counties in North Carolina use.
Okay.
The only other thing I have to add to that is, if you recall, we had a similar case, I want to say, 2-3 years ago with Harris Teeter. Harris Teeter came before numerous counties. Mecklenburg County is the one who took it to the PTC, arguing the same thing, that their leasehold improvements and other equipment wasn't being depreciated fast enough. We do have a Court of Appeals decision that upheld overturned the PTC? It did, yeah. But basically, it said that the North Carolina Department of Revenue's depreciation schedules were adequate, and that's what the county should be using. So Harris Teeter did not win their case.
Any questions for Robin representing the county?
I do
All
not
right.
have any. No.
All right, next, Bella?
Yes. Tab number 2, parcel ID number 082822019D. Shirley site, Temple of Charlotte, is a no-show.
Now, am I seeing is it, their opinion is 302 and our opinion is 3026? I mean, is that what I'm seeing?
Oh, mine.
Yes, sir.
So
What
the-
this is an untimely application for exemption. This is a religious organization, but they did not submit their application during the listing period. In addition to that, exemption status is granted to organizations based on ownership and use. Ownership is clearly a religious organization, but they didn't break ground to start building their temple until after 1/1/2021. So there wasn't anything for us to exempt because they weren't actually using the property for religious purposes. The tract that we're talking about is 35 acres. If I remember correctly, Jerry told me that it was off 218 and that they're developing a small portion of that. But I guess the decision in front of you today is that they don't qualify for an exempt status.
Have they always had the property?
I'm sorry?
Have they always had the 35 acres, the church, or,
They've had it for a while.
and then they started building a church on the 35 acres?
Well, on a portion of it, yeah,
Portion of it,
yeah.
yeah.
But,
So you said they don't qualify for an exempt status?
no, they do not, because it's ownership and use. They have the ownership,
Got it.
okay, but they're not using the property for religious purposes.
So the
Oh.
last 2-3 years, they've been paying
It's-
taxes on whatever the value is?
Yes, yes.
So they've been doing that, so they knew, all right.
Yeah.
I got it now.
And they can only apply for exemption on the portion they're using.
Yes,
For 2022,
yes,
right.
yes.
So
And as
they're
soon
just
as they
using 2
break
acres,
ground,
right,
yeah, as soon as they break ground, then that part of the property
Yeah.
that's being used, even if they're in the process of building it, does become exempt.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So they would need to make another application in January of '22, and then we would exempt whatever land was developed, and then whatever infrastructure or improvement was there. Like if they started building the parking lot or whatever,
Now, how are you gonna prove if this one tract, 35 acres,
right?
to me, you'd have to almost cut the use of the property out, or the property they used out of the larger tract, or the whole thing becomes exempt.
No, the whole 35 acres would have to be under a religious use. So they would have to have meditation trails or a paintball course or some kind of youth activities.
What if they had picnics out there?
If they had picnics on the whole 35 acres, then,
Is that how that works?
yeah.
If they have to, who proves how much of the property
How
they're
much are
using?
you gonna take out when it happens? Let's just
They
say,
scale it, don't they?
Yeah,
Somehow.
we scale it,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
like we would do with a present use property.
Okay,
You know, let's say I had 100 acres, but only 40 acres was being actively used for agriculture, then I
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
exclude that 40 acres, and the other 60 acres would be full market value. That's the exact same situation with this.
There's actually extensive case law decisions on this, so that's how the process works.
okay,
It doesn't exempt the whole thing. If you're only using 5 acres or 35 acres, then you're not gonna get the full exemption.
Okay.
on the full property. They're gonna scale that part out.
Because that'd be like if they own property down the road, 10 more acres, which isn't the part where they're trying to build this church, you're not gonna exclude that just because it's owned by the same thing.
No,
That makes
it
sense?
doesn't work like PUV.
Okay.
It has to be actively used for religious purposes.
We got educated on that in our church.
And in talking to my exemption specialist, he said approximately 8 acres.
Would take up,
Right,
okay.
because they have the building itself, parking lots, and then some activities.
All right.
Who goes out, the county goes out and says, who designates what's being used and what's not being used?
My exemption specialist.
Okay,
Just like we do with present use value, we do exactly the same thing with exemptions. I have appraisers that go out there, review the property, measure the buildings, and determine what's being used and what's not being used. Right now, our biggest tool, especially for 35 acres, would be aerial photography.
gotcha.
But in addition, if we needed, let's say they were doing meditation trails, well, we would go out there and we would say, well, show us the meditation trails, show us the benches, show us the pavilion where you have picnics, show us the paintball course, you know, whatever they're claiming that they're doing out there, they would have to either send us pictures or we would go out there and review it if we had questions. But no, we scrutinize this.
Fair enough.
Good deal.
I think we have a similar situation with another church in the county. They own some excess land around the church, but they actually farm that land, they rent that land out to a farmer. And so that land is not exempt.
Right, that would make sense. yeah.
Because it's more than 10 acres and it's,
Right, so
Farm to
because they're
farm.
actively farming it, of course, it would fall under PUV.
got it.
And,
got it.
and churches are allowed to do that. They can, you know, like in this case, if they wanted to, you know, rent out their property to a farmer and have that used under the present use value program, that would be fine. But it wouldn't be exempt.
Right. That's why
It's
that
all
was-
based
that
on
land is not
use.
exempt. It may be
Yeah.
in PUV, but it's not
Yeah.
exempt.
Got it.
Robin, does that religious use take effect when the construction begins, or they gotta complete the whole thing?
No, the statutes changed a couple years ago, and as soon as they break ground,
Okay,
then we go in there. And that's why my exemption specialist told me that they didn't break ground. They didn't pull the permits until the end of January of 2021.
okay.
So as of 1/1/2021, they weren't using the property. So if they apply in January, we have all the permit information. He's already been out there. He's been looking at the aerials and checking the property. When they apply, then we would apply the exemption appropriately.
22, got it.
22, yeah. So right now, the decision before the board is that we deny their
Yep.
appeal to have an
21.
exemption.
Yep. All right,
Tab number 3, parcel ID number 060480007S, Village Commons Branch 2 LLC.
These final three that we have, the appellant cannot come today. She called, said they left Atlanta, and the interstate's been shut down for hours. But she would like for you to hear what she is presenting, and I'll do my best to kind of give it to you in a nutshell, their side and our side. This first one, we have is, it's a CVS. It's on the corner of Weddington Road and Waxhaw Indian Trail Road in Wesley Chapel. Our value is $2,812,700. They're asking for $1,916,700. And on their behalf, they had, in your packet is a letter. They were stating that the pandemic had affected CVS, and that is the reasoning for their appeal. She had also presented some comparables of rents and used an income approach, and that's where the $2,410,115 was where she came up on her income approach. And she presented several sales
This is the first time they've ever appealed. That CVS, this lady that worked.
I just don't recall. I don't
It's been
recall
there for
her.
a while.
Yeah, I don't, to the best of my knowledge, no. If they have, it was years ago, but
Right.
many years ago, but I'm sorry, I cannot answer that, prior appeals. What I did was I went back and reviewed from our side, I went back and I looked at the information that she had presented, and I looked at the income approach, and based on the comps that she had provided, it says $24.70 is a typical rent, but then if you look at the income approach that she had, it's using $15 a square foot. So that's the main reason that it came in at less than what we have. I also pulled some sales, and all the sales during the pandemic that I have and all these sales are drugstores. They're $297 a square foot with typical sale price of $3.7 million. And we are at $223 a square foot and $2.8 million. So we fall well below that information, based on that information that I have. And I also looked at her sales, and the sales that she had provided, one was a daycare. One was a daycare, one was an office, and one was an auto dealership. So I didn't feel like those sales were worth any consideration. So that's where we are with this one. We felt that no change based on my comps and the income approach. Felt like that we shouldn't change that one.
Any questions for Joe on that one?
No, sir.
Nope.
All right, Velma?
Tab number 4, parcel ID number 06048007A, Village Commons Phase 1 LLC.
All right, now we're going right across the street to the Wells Fargo in Wesley Chapel. And her point of contention was that this is a land lease. The owners of the land are getting, she presented an income approach saying that they has their net operating income on there, and what they come out using that net operating income, she did a pro forma analysis, and our value is, she said our value was $1,316,731, which it is not. Our value is $1,123,200, which actually falls below what she states that the land should be worth is $1,200,791. So that's kind of not really something that, we're below what they're saying. So I don't know where the $1,316,000 came from that she got that number, but that's not something that we would consider. I also pulled sales just to the bank just to see if overall our value was off, and it just so happened that we're at $509 a square foot, and that's where the typical value of the sales that I found were 509 on the dot. So we didn't feel like we had any reason to change this one either.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Joe?
this is ID number 4, isn't this?
Yep.
Okay. County's value is $2,054,100. Taxpayers' opinion of value is $1,873,000. So that's how close y'all are anyway, using both techniques?
Yes.
I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure. I'm
Right.
good. I'm good.
It looks like it's a lot of comps out there on bank buildings. From what- If I'm looking at it, I'm just kind of glancing over it.
No more questions.
Okay. Velma?
Tab number 5, parcel ID number 06048599, Village Commons Branch 3 LLC.
All right, we're still in the same vicinity. This is a vacant piece of land that fronts on Weddington Road, and it is between the Chick-fil-A and the Novant building, and it also faces the Target. It's 15.06 acres, and the appellant had presented comparables that were primarily listings. And they're in the packet for you to see. And that's pretty much what we have on that. Now, from our side, I looked at two things. I looked at equity. What are we valuing this property at as opposed to the other pieces of tracts of land that are around it, and they're in your packet is a tax value equity map that looks like this. We're at the bottom right, $287,800 an acre. The tract that the Target's on is a little bit smaller, but it's a little bit in a better location, but it's at $436,000 an acre. Across the road, you got $475,000 an acre. And then north of there, you got 436, and we feel like 287,000 an acre is a fair amount for this based on its location and visibility and frontage. I also pulled some sales, and I have the sales included along with the sale comp map that show a nice range. There's nothing in Wesley Chapel that has sold in the last few years, but we have found a couple of similar areas and a couple of inferior areas, and they all indicate that we're right in line at 287,000. And I also, at the very back, I took the information she had provided and I just typed over it in red. These were the comps that she presented, and this is why we would not consider the listings that she had, because, you know, one's in Wingate, and you can't really compare Wingate to Wesley Chapel, and it was also residential. A lot of these, almost all of them, are residential listings that have commercial potential, but they're not commercial yet. So we didn't feel like that these were she had one that was on Highway 74, and it's at $400,000 an acre. So we're at $287,000 an acre, and so we feel like our position is pretty strong on this one for a no change, because there wasn't enough information that was provided that would indicate anything otherwise.
Did she provide her own outside appraisal on this property?
No, just the listings here. It's in the packet.
Has she ever presented the county any kind of, or Wesley Chapel, any kind of draft or any kind of development in that property or not?
No,
Okay.
No.
She's got roads cut in, I can see that.
yeah. There may be some information on the land lease that there may be something on that, but it's not in this packet and not part of this appeal. But there was in that land lease that she presented, the lease that was for Wells Fargo, it was the leases for everything that's in that area, and I think there was an overall plan in that packet, but there's nothing in this one.
Yeah, I can see that, because, you know, where that PetSmart place or whatever it is, their parking lot's over into their parcel. So is the front, but that's not strange. All right, I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
I think this, land is a little higher than I would like to see it from a county standpoint. I don't think it's worth $290,000 an acre roughly. You'd have to know the plan for the property. You sit there with somebody want to give, all that for that property. I don't think it shouldn't hurt her, but me and Dutch look at it every day. You sit there, would you lend, 80% of 287 per acre? I don't believe I would on the property. But anyway, just a sidebar. All right, I think the next was staff recommendation.
Yes, 6 and 7 are staff recommendations, and we're ready to deliberate.
I can answer any questions you have on the staff recs.
Okay, let's go back to big lots. Any thoughts or any recommendations?
Make a motion to accept the county's value of $300,910.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ray. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The Temple,
Wait till 22, I make a recommendation they don't get the, what is it called, release or something?
yeah, the exemption.
Exemption, that's the one.
I'll second it.
Got a first by Mark, second by Dutch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign no. Thank you. And then we'll just take the 3 in a row for the village common. I don't think we had to vote individually. While I hate she didn't get here, but I'm suggesting she didn't show proof that of her with her comments that we should not agree with the county.
Yeah. I mean, I think the county's got good data.
Yes.
To slide us with, and I would just make a recommendation on tabs 3, 4, and 5 that we uphold the current values that the county.
So
has.
that's your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a second.
Second.
We got a second by Mark. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Like sign, no. Thank you. And then, do I hear a motion that we accept the staff's recommendation on tab 6?
Make that motion.
Got a motion from Mark,
Second.
second by Dutch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign, no. All right. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
Are we done?
Got one more?
Did we do number 7, personal property staff recommendations?
Oh.
Kind of
Okay.
missed that one. I did too.
I did too.
I didn't see that.
All right, so do I hear a motion that we accept the staff recommendation on personal property?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mark. There's a second.
Second.
Ray, second by Ray. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
First, I want to thank the board for their time this year. It has been a process. With the revaluation year, I think it went as smooth as it possibly could have. Field staff, Robin staff, they all did a great job.
I agree.
Thelma made it through her first time clerking.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Through her revaluation. So her and Angie and all their help. We will be working on the schedule for meetings for next year. Our intent is to convene first part of April as normal. And we're still debating on the window that we leave open as far as the length of time for appeals at that point. It will be at
Just
least
don't
30
start on that spring break week.
We won't.
School's
We
right.
won't.
Yeah, 'cause I
will be
will
at
be
least-
gone.
It will be at least a 30-day appeal window, I think. But that may be the time frame that we go with on that. But again, I appreciate all your help and enjoyed working with y'all. And look
When's the
forward
next,
to
when's the next revaluation?
2025. So the county is now hopefully on a permanent 4-year cycle, and barring the commissioners changing that resolution. But I know for a fact that we are 2025. Well, and that's whether they did the resolution or not, because As of the end of November, I ran the numbers yesterday, our sales ratio is already down to 79% since January 1st.
No.
You know,
So you'll be forced to maybe,
Well, we won't
No.
be forced because we've already adopted a resolution for 4-year.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
my parting comments, I won't be on the board next year, but I appreciate what y'all do, every one of you, and some taxpayers may not think this, but the county's fortunate to have you folks represent the county, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good job.
Can we call you back in as a substitute?
Well, we may look
Like a
at having a bank of alternate board members next year. You'll be the first on the list.
Yeah.
I think we should have bankers on the board.
Yeah.
You know, nice variety of.
That's all I've got. All
right,
We're ready to adjourn.
Thank you,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
Second about, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
Good deal.
All right, guys, thanks a
Well, we're
lot.
gonna miss you next year.
Well, thank you.
I know, but you know, April comes around, he might change his mind.